Brought to you by Penguin.
Rebellion by Robert Kagan. Read by Jason Culp.
In memory of Fred Hyatt. Introduction. Virtue will slumber. The wicked will be continually watching. Consequently, you will be undone. Patrick Henry, Virginia Ratifying Convention, June 9th, 1788. The institutions that America's founders created to safeguard liberal democratic government cannot survive when half the country does not believe in the core principles that undergird the American system of government. The presidential election of 2024, therefore, will not be the usual contest between Republicans and Democrats. It is a referendum on whether the liberal democracy born out of the Revolution should continue. Today, tens of millions of Americans have risen in rebellion against that system. They have embraced Donald Trump as their leader because they believe he can deliver them from what they regard as the liberal oppression of American politics and society. If he wins, they will support whatever he does, including violating the Constitution to go after his enemies and political opponents, which he has promised to do. If he loses, they will reject the results and refuse to acknowledge the legitimacy of the federal government, just as the South did in 1860. Either way, the American liberal political and social order will fracture, perhaps irrecoverably. Although this crisis seems unprecedented, the struggle that is tearing the nation apart today is as old as the Republic. The American Revolution did not just produce a new system of government dedicated to the protection of the rights of all individuals against government and community, the first of its kind in history. It also produced a reaction against those very liberal principles by slaveholders and their white supporters, by religious movements, by those many Americans who have sought to preserve ancient traditional hierarchies of peoples and beliefs against the leveling force of liberalism. This struggle between liberalism and anti-liberalism has shaped international politics for the last 2 centuries and dominates the international scene today. But the same struggle has also been fought within the American system since the time of the Revolution. The idea that all Americans share a commitment to the nation's founding principles has always been a pleasing myth, or perhaps a noble lie. We prefer to believe we all share the same fundamental goals and only disagree on the means of achieving them. But in fact, large numbers of Americans have always rejected the founders' claim that all men are created equal, with unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and they have persistently struggled against the imposition of those liberal values on their lives. Great numbers of Americans, from the time of the Revolution onward, have wished to see America in ethno-religious terms, as fundamentally a white Protestant nation whose character is an outgrowth of white, Christian, European civilization. Their goal has been to preserve a white Christian supremacy, contrary to the founders' vision, and they have tolerated the founders' liberalism and the workings of the democratic system only when it has not undermined that cause. When it has, they have repeatedly rebelled against it. A straight line runs from the slaveholding South in the early to mid-19th century to the post-Reconstruction South of the late 19th and early 20th centuries, to the Second Ku Klux Klan of the 1920s, to the Dixiecrats of the 1940s and 50s, to Joseph McCarthy and the John Birch Society of the 1950s and 60s, to the burgeoning Christian nationalist movement of recent decades, to the New Right of the Reagan era, to the Republican...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?